What's up, everybody? Welcome in. This is episode 3 of I Agree Go Cavs. I'm your host, Jacob at Richism13. I am solo today. We're going to do this this live show, but it's going to be just real quick. Probably 20-30 minutes here as we talk about the Cavs. Episode 2, we talked about the bench and how it had played. That was earlier this week. We dropped that on Wednesday. So if you haven't checked out episode 2, that was pretty fun. Episode 1, of course, was just talking about the season opening loss. That was last Friday. We'll continue to kind of with this show hit you guys with a couple episodes a week. One that'll be live either on Fridays or Saturdays at some point, as well as one that will continue to be recorded and come out on typically on Wednesdays. We'll record those on Tuesday nights. So before we jump into it, I've got it. I finally got it. Here is my Cleveland Cavaliers Let 'em Know homage shirt that I was able to get into the mail. I'm going to drop this in the chat if you are watching us on YouTube or Facebook. If you want to live react with me today and talk and interact with the show, come to Facebook or YouTube where I can see the comments. I can't see your comments over on Twitter if you are watching over there. So let's jump right on into it. Since we last talked, the Cavs win 2 more games in a row, and they're sitting at 4-1, and all of this is without Darius Garland. And I know we've talked a million times about the fact that this stuff is going on without Darius Garland, but just to think that you could go toe-to-toe with the defending Eastern Conference champs and take their best shot, because early they were not shooting the ball all that well, and the Cavs were, and they were able to get out to some big leads there early on, and the Celtics came back, but the Celtics then started to control the game for quite a bit of the second half especially, and the Cavs just found a way to dig down deep, come roaring back, go into overtime, and win pretty convincingly. They didn't win by 20 or 30, but they were able to win more than by 2 or 3, like a game-winning shot there at the last second where they're able to win. And so I really think that really matters to see this team be able to take a pretty big counterpunch and then find another counterpunch. Donovan Mitchell played what felt like the entire game because there was just not the bench was not what it had been. We talked on episode 2 about how the bench had really alleviated some of the scoring, some of the scoring burden from the starting 5. And last night it just was not very consistent. There wasn't a lot of really great scoring off of the bench, not consistently. So it really started to lean really heavily on Donovan Mitchell and Karis LeVert, who literally, and everybody on Twitter made the comments about it, they mirrored that 41-41 game that Kyrie Irving and LeBron had against the the Warriors in 2016 finals, as they both went 41-41, and they were a true dynamic duo. I said on Twitter, I thought that they really kind of fed off of each other, kind of the energy and the production that was coming out of Donovan Mitchell was kind of mirrored by Karis LeVert, and who continues to just be lights out from 3. Has had some struggles kind of on 2-point shots, although last night he didn't have many struggles at all. But to see Karis LeVert and Donovan Mitchell look like what we think Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell are going to be, I think Garland's a better player right now than Karis LeVert. So the fact that you were seeing what you want those two to be with the other two, and you still don't have Garland out there, it's just absolutely insane. I'm not sure if we'll see him tomorrow night. I don't know. I haven't seen whether or not they've ruled him out or if they think he's going to play or whatever. But when he comes back, it's going to be really, really interesting, because I think he's easily the best facilitator on this Cavs team. And I think him being able to dish out some opportunities for Garland, I keep saying it like I'm not talking about him, but for LeVert and Mitchell, and help them get some open shots, because when they're getting those open looks, man, the Cavs, it really doesn't even matter who it is. Honestly, they're getting those open looks and they're taking advantage of them when they get them. And it's just been really, really fun. And that game from Karis LeVert, like last night, was really similar, I think, to what a lot of fans thought they were getting with Karis LeVert when they traded for him last year. And obviously there were some injuries and some things like that. And they're talking about how he feels as healthy as he has felt in years. Going into this season, there were some comments from LeVert saying that, it's awesome. Whenever you got a guy that can play to that level and help elevate it feels like he's elevated his play without Garland. And being able to get a player who can do that sort of thing, and I think your best player is Donovan Mitchell, but your second best player has only played in a half of basketball, and you're 4-1. They were 4-14 without Darius Garland last year. And the fact that you were they went 4-14 in 18 games without Garland, and you're like, okay, he's your best player last year, and you're like, that's really tough. But then you look at it this game, they miss him for 4 games, and they're 4-0. They've already matched what the win total they had in 18 games without him last year. And it all just falls on the fact that I said this in episode 2, Donovan Mitchell is a bona fide superstar. And I've seen this weird discourse on Twitter where I've seen a group of people saying that the Cavs overpaid for Donovan Mitchell. Have you watched these 5 games, man? I know he didn't shoot well in the win against the Wizards. I understand he didn't shoot all that well. That's not against the Wizards. It was Wednesday night. Sorry. I know that it was some elevated play from guys around him, but Donovan Mitchell has been the best player on that court overall for the Cavs in those 5 games. And I just don't see how a bona fide superstar who has made everybody around him better and has been able to make sure the Cavs get willed to victory without their leader. I mean, I think Garland is the emotional leader, and I know Mitchell's taking that over, but Garland's been there longer. And with the fact that they're able to do that, that is, a really good, when you're looking at talking about what kind of player Mitchell is, seeing him elevate this and just keep things rolling as though they didn't lose Darius Garland, it just shows you that I don't see how you can overpay for a NBA superstar. If you've got a bona fide superstar on the court, I just don't see how anybody could sit there and go, yeah, you overpaid for him. And it's he's the best player on that court. He's the best player they've had on that court since LeBron left. And I love Garland. I love Mobley. I love Allen. And I think Mobley maybe has the chance to be the best of all of them. But he is absolutely the best player that has stepped on the court for the wine and gold in my lifetime, outside of LeBron James and maybe Kyrie Irving and that sort of thing. So post LeBron too, that's who this is. He's the best player they got. And you don't overpay for a dude that can just will your team to victory. And that's what Donovan Mitchell is. He just continues to be a bona fide superstar, willing the Cavaliers to victory. And it's been incredibly fun to watch. So guys, I'm going to step away real quick. We're going to have a word from one of our sponsors. I'll be right back and we will continue talking Cavs.
What's up, everybody? We know that daily fantasy never stops. And Network 216 is proud to be a partner with Underdog Fantasy. Very simple to use. All you have to do is go to underdogfantasy.com, and you will just click the sign in button. You'll create an account if you haven't done so already. If you've not created an account, it'll ask you to enter a code. Enter code 216, and they will double your first deposit up to $100. Underdog Fantasy, live draft lobbies that you get to compete with you and your friends. It's no salary cap like DraftKings and FanDuel. You get to go to a draft lobby, pick the players you want, or you can do daily pick'ems, which give you access to all the NFL and NBA games for you to make your picks every single night. Again, go to underdogfantasy.com or use the Underdog Fantasy app on iOS or Android. Use code 216 to double your first deposit up to $100. Sign up today.
Thanks to Tyler Johnson for providing us that nice word from our sponsors at Underdog Fantasy. I love fantasy drafts and I love mock draft season, as you guys know if you follow me on the Browns side of things. So being able to do that all the time is something that's really been fun for me. So I think Underdog Fantasy has really been just a great partner, and I absolutely love the product that they put on. So we're going to continue to talk about the Cavs, whose defense kind of got tested. After the first 5 games, or first 4 games, I'm sorry, they played pretty good defense going into that Celtics game, but it was absolutely the best offense that they were going to have faced so far in this season. Though I did think Toronto played really, really well and obviously won the game on opening night last week. I just thought that, Tatum, he was Jason Tatum. If you haven't watched Tatum play in a while, you go and you watch that game and you're just like, this dude is really freaking good. And the Cavs were able at times to make it a little difficult on him. He made a killing that really both, pretty much everybody on the Celtics, is definitely Tatum too, that mostly that just really feasted off of getting to the line last night. And I think some situations where the Cavs have been a little bit too aggressive and got called for some fouls. I thought that they were blowing some really, really quick whistles there as well. So I think it's kind of a mixture of things when you're looking at a situation where that many fouls are called in a game and they get that many free throws. I mean, part of it is that you got to understand how quick this whistle is coming from the officials and understand, you know, I can't get away with this or that in this game. And maybe they were calling, you know, fouls they shouldn't have. I think it was on both sides. They were calling the Cavs for some fouls I thought were, and I thought they were calling the Celtics for some of those. They just wanted to make sure that if it was potentially a penalty, they called it as a penalty. And it just happened, you know, the whole game. And I kind of thought it took away from some of the fun of the game. And it just kind of was something that made it a little bit difficult to enjoy kind of those sorts of things. Just, it's like, oh, stoppage in play. We are stoppage in play. We have another stoppage in play because of there's another whistle, there's another whistle. And it just felt like that was unending all night long. And I couldn't understand some of the calls. I thought were very interesting. They continue to look at this team, and I say that you competed with one of the best teams in the East without one of your best players anymore. You found a way to battle, to grind, to push it to overtime, and then take over a little bit down the stretch and pretty well salted away. They've gone into overtime twice, and in the overtime period, they have been by far the better team in both games and were able to get a nice enough cushion to where it felt like it was over with a couple of minutes, with about a minute or so to go in both of those games. And that was against a team like the Celtics were shooting pretty lights out for almost majority of that game. And the Cavs have twice now been able to stiffen up their defense against teams in the fourth quarter and overtime, so that the Cavs can come roaring back just to push it to overtime in this game, but then to also be able to push it over the top. And when you got guys like Donovan Mitchell playing well over 40 minutes and he gives you what he gives you, you just look at that and you think about the overall outlook of what the season's going to be. And you say, man, this Cavs team that's got talent from the top of the roster all the way down, their second best player's not out there, their backup point guard's not out there. Raul Neto continues to deserve more respect that he's getting as the backup point, because they're in a situation where starter-wise, they only have two guys in LeVert and Mitchell that can run the offense at overall. Obviously, they've got plenty of ball handlers. Those are not the only two, but those are the guys you want kind of facilitating your offense. And if you didn't have one off the bench, it really makes it a situation where you absolutely have to have one of those guys on the court at all times. And that can lead to some fatigue late in the game that ends up not being quality minutes and could potentially cost you a victory. But, you know, overall, Raul Neto's big. Jetty Osman continues to be big. Dean Wade, even though he's got a really big beard for his face, it continues to hit buckets. I just think that right now this Cavs team understands who they are, understands how to win, and understands how to find and exploit weaknesses on opposing teams. So, guys, that is all I got for this week's for episode 3 of I Agree, Go Cavs. It was a solo pod, only going to hit you about 15 minutes. Kind of what that's going to happen when we don't have co-hosts would jump in here. We'll have another episode Wednesday morning. Usually drops around there. It'll be pre-recorded. So if you guys like this and you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe, give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends. Head over to our website. We got a lot of stuff going on over there, network216ohio.com. You can also check us out if you want to support Network 216. The Patreon is patreon.com/network_216. $5 a month to support all the stuff that we got going on over here. We appreciate you. The most valuable thing you can give somebody is some of your time. So I appreciate you yet again for giving some of yours to me. And I will talk to you guys again later. And as always, go Cavs.